Hey everyone, welcome to this full moon Sidereal Astrology forecast for the full moon on Sunday, October 9th, 2022. Alright, so we have a full moon here in Pisces the Fish. If you're expecting me to say Aries just then, be sure to check out the link down below for more information. We are using the visible sky on this channel, which is very different from mainstream astrology, and so the signs are different. Alright, so Pisces the Fish, this is a great time of connecting to the receptive side of ourselves, much like the fishes. The fish, to be listening, to be going with the flow, to be connected to the holistic elements of life, or to the school of fish, the collective, right? So to get more in touch with that watery energy. And so it's a great time to do a status check with this side of ourself. How is that receptive side? How is that intuitive side? How much are we in flow with our soul at the moment? And so great time to be aware of this and perhaps make some shifts and changes now these days surrounding the full moon to implement more of that receptive, intuitive, soul-guided energy into our life. Now this is of course always opposite Virgo, so in this case it's good to see the balance between going with the flow with Pisces but also focusing on what we do have control over, which is Virgo. Virgo, where we have almost all the fast-moving planets, has been a great time these past weeks for improving things, doing the work, refinement, perfection, work and service, maybe personal development, this kind of getting into the details of things. And so what balances all of that nitty-gritty, detail-oriented energy is that Pisces. And so this is a reminder that while it is still good to be improving and refining things, to also let go of what's outside of our control, go with the flow, have more soul guidance, maybe get some rest, spiritual time, things like this to counterbalance that energy. Now the full moon will be conjunct Chiron, so it's very much a healing full moon, great for that. Being aware of wounds or inhibitions we can become aware of and heal. It's going to be also opposite Venus with this, so good to incorporate maybe some of the relational energies. Balance with relationships can be great. And also some sextiles to Saturn and a little bit Mars as well. So let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here is the chart for the full moon. So the full moon will be on Sunday, October 9th at around 16:20 or 4:20 p.m. Eastern time of the Americas. Now that's very much a rough estimate there because we are using topocentric, which is the surface of the Earth versus the quote-unquote core of the Earth. And so the calculations can change quite a bit in terms of specific minutes of it. But for all intents and purposes, if you do want to make that calculation for wherever you are in the world, be about around that 16:20 Eastern time of the Americas. And plus we usually do feel this energy at least a few days before and a few days after. Okay, so yeah, and as you can see, we are using the actual size of the constellations, which is very different from mainstream astrology. Mainstream, particularly tropical astrology, uses the seasons, which is not the visible sky. And so you will notice the signs are different. They're saying right now the full moon's in Aries, but in fact, if you were to go and look at it, you would see it in the constellation Pisces. So we're using the visible sky here called True Sidereal Astrology. And if you are new, definitely check out that link down below for more information. All right, so full moon is the halfway point of the lunar month. 2 weeks ago, we started the new cycle. This has all been about Virgo, the improvement nature of things. And so great to be still focused on getting into the details, analyzing, essentially to strive towards improvement and refinement of things, right? So great time for things like personal development, health, diet, setting routines and habits, and our work and service, right? Anything along that level, great time of the year to do that. We can be enjoying it as well with Venus, connecting in our relationships in this way, even though this is more uncomfortable for Venus. She is debilitated here. We can still come to commonality, common agreement in terms of what can be fixed and improved. Great time for work when it comes to those one-on-one connections, both in maybe our work in our or relationships at work, or relationships that are also into improvement or personal development are fantastic at this time. Mercury here is our minds, and this is actually exaltation for Mercury, where he loves to be, being able to solve problems, fix things, get to solutions and stuff. So that's, again, very strong at the moment. But as you can see, that's all very much opposite, quote unquote, Pisces, which is about really letting go of things in life and going more with the flow and listening more to our soul versus getting into all those details. So this is really the axis that deals with the balance between focusing on what we do have control with Virgo, but also letting go of what we don't have control over, which is Pisces. Getting into the work in the physical world with Virgo, and then getting into the spiritual world with Pisces and connecting more with our soul. And so the idea here is to unify the two, that when these are unified, then we are very much in alignment. There's balance and there's health and there's fulfillment in our life, right? If we go too far to one extreme or the other, which is the natural tendency towards oppositions and full moons, then of course we create disease or imbalance in our life and thus unfulfillment. So if things get too much into the work and the doing and the perfection of Virgo at the exclusion of the receptive Pisces, then that could of course be challenging. But likewise too, if we get too much into the ethers, too much into just going with the flow, not enough of that improvement, then of course that can create issues as well. So the idea here is about incorporating the two, right? How can we both control and not control? How can we both do the physical and the spiritual? And in fact, the physical world, when the physical world is in alignment to the spiritual world, or in other words, when our physical needs are in alignment with our spiritual needs or our soul needs, right? This is a great way of working with this particular axis. So great to incorporate these two in that way, of course, during the full moon, but the full moon is in the Pisces side of it. So that's really where the sun energy is bouncing off of the moon and illuminating the energy, illuminating right now the importance of Pisces, the importance of checking in with our soul, right? Connecting to our spiritual self, doing things that are important to us on a spiritual and soul level, right? And getting some of that receptive energy. So great to see how that's going. Full moons are a status check. Always a good time to see how that energy is going. How has the past 2 weeks been going of the lunar cycle? How has the past 6 months been going in the context of this axis? Because 6 months ago we had the new moon in Pisces. And so status check time and making shifts and changes to see how we can incorporate more of this balance and usually more of that receptive energy of the Pisces in this case. All right, so the full moon will be conjunct Chiron, the healer, the healing comet, and so it's also very much being illuminated and very much emphasized here. Okay, so Chiron is the story of where we get wounded, is the story of the person that got wounded early in life and then spent their whole life trying to heal the wound, that they became a healer. Okay, and so it's very symbolic for where we have our own wounds, usually from childhood or early in life, that we can heal or work on or strive towards healing, which then we become good at healing that particular thing, right? We're all healers in a sense as well. And so that's being illuminated. Our wounds, our inhibitions, our traumas, the unconscious stuff in Pisces, right? The psychology, the unconscious, the shadow, all these things we've either repressed or have hidden away or brushed under the rug that now can be unveiled for us to be aware of, right? These wounds and things like this. And so it's an excellent time for healing. Now, this is, of course, very much in the psychological realm because, this is Pisces, so we're talking more maybe in the spiritual healing or psychological healing or emotional healing realm, but it can very well be physically healing. In fact, these two things are the same, right? And that's really the message here of this axis, is that in order to heal the spiritual, we have to heal the physical self or the physical body. And these are really not two different things. They're one and the same thing, right? And so it's also a great time to focus on physical health, as that'll, of course, directly contribute to our mental and spiritual health as well. So that's really the most important aspect here, very much illuminating that Chiron energy, that healer energy with this full moon. Now we'll be opposite Venus, and so Venus is usually quite close to the sun anyways. Mercury is usually quite close, but this is quite a close opposition here. And so it's a good time to just kind of have this reminder that it's good to sort of strive towards that balance in our relationship life and relating, that maybe some of this healing energy could be coming through some one-on-one connections or in our relationship life. But all in all, to have that sort of balance in our relationships, right? Because Venus, again, not being very comfortable here, generally speaking, relationships don't go very well with improvement, right? When we tell someone that they need to improve or something they're doing needs to be fixed or something like that, that doesn't usually go very well, right? So that's the debilitation of Venus here. But there is, of course, a constructive way of working with it. And it's when we're joining up with others with the intention to work on things. Now, it could be very surface level, like I said, like our work and day-to-day lives. Forming relationships at work is always, or not always, but very often about coming together to solve problems and fix things together. But in all of our relationships, right? Personal development and things like this. So anything that is about incorporating relationships and cooperation and coming to mutual agreements and relating with others in a way that maybe is healing, right? Or is about connecting more to the soul-guided or spiritual energies, is a great way of working with this full moon as well. Okay, so those are the most important aspects, very much the Chiron one. You could say that there's some sextiles to Saturn and Mars. They're not actually totally exact. Well, the one to Saturn is, but the one to Mars isn't. But the reason I'm mentioning it is because it does form what is a kite, what's called a kite aspect configuration. And that's where if you look at the center of the wheel here, you'll see what's almost a kite. If there was a line right here, it would look just like a kite. So it's very close. And so I think it's definitely noteworthy here that the full moon being at the tip or the top here of the kite is very much symbolic of how this full moon can be very much supporting us in a multitude of different areas. Now we're talking about specifically in the area of Pisces and Virgo. So this kind of health and personal development axes, right? But it can definitely directly support our achievements, our goals, our careers, with a sextile to Saturn and Capricorn. And it can also directly support our needs, our drives, our goals, our short-term goals with close to a sextile with Mars, okay? And so there is support here from those sextiles. They are both trining the sun in this case. It is a grand trine, as you can see here as part of the kite. And so there's a supportive energy here within the earth signs. And in this case, again, the support with Mars, which is, there is support right now for action, initiative, and drive, even though Mars is slowing down. And we'll be squaring Neptune a little later this week. If you haven't yet seen the weekly video, do check that out. Actually, I'll be publishing that soon. Okay, but there is support with that fire energy, and also support, especially here, with the grounded energies of Saturn. Productivity, achievement, accomplishment, things like that. Okay, but these are definitely minor in the context of what we're talking about when it comes to both Chiron and Pisces here. All right, and then normally we look at the dispositors or the rulers of the full moon, which is the rulers of Pisces, which is modernly Neptune and traditionally Jupiter, but they're already both in Pisces, and so it's just really adding to that energy there. Okay, so everyone, that's the full moon in a nutshell. Most important thing is it's a status check time. Great time to be aware of how that Pisces receptive, intuitive, soul-guided energy is in our life or isn't in our life, and perhaps making some shifts and changes to incorporate it. Really, it's a whole great week, the whole week to do so. And that's going to help balance out where there has been a lot of improvement, perfection, refinement, work sort of energy with Virgo. And then, of course, just maintaining that balance between the doing and being, the work and rest, the physical and the spiritual, the control and no control, right? Helps balance all of these things out. It's very much a healing full moon, so great for being aware of those deeper hidden wounds, traumas, insecurities, doubts, inhibitions that we can then really accept and redeem and heal both physically and spiritually And great to be connecting in those relationships in that balanced way. All right, so everyone, have a fantastic full moon. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're not yet signed up for MTZ Insiders, it is a free newsletter where you do get these videos released first before YouTube and extra content not normally released on YouTube, sent directly to your email, absolutely free. Again, links down below to sign up. But again, have a great one, everyone, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.